Thank you. Yeah, so Do the Right Thing is great. But then there's also Pepe Dankart. Do you know this German director?
No, I don't.
He did a short film called Schwarzfahrer, which is Black Rider, direct translation, but it's also what someone who rides public transportation without paying. So
Hmm.
you, uh, and it also happens to be in this film a black man who gets on the the tram, and a woman beside him is, disgruntled that he sits next to her, and there is a seat next to her, so he has every right to. And in Germany, you're not checked um, at the door, but they send people around to check your tickets by surprise, and it's really quite unnerving. But if you have your ticket, you've paid your fare, then it's not unnerving for you. So someone comes to check the tickets, and the woman who has been being nasty throughout the ride um, says, "Oh, I bet you don't have your ticket," basically. And he says, "Oh, I do. I have an annual pass." And so she holds out her ticket to be checked, and he grabs it and eats it. And so she doesn't have a ticket, but she was being obviously nasty and racist.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
all
yeah.
of the people on the train were looking at her like, God, lady, but they weren't saying anything. So he ate the ticket, and she didn't have a ticket to present. And so she is escorted off of the train. And, so there are these that are really, there's a few films like that. That Another one called Exit Right, and it's in Holland, and similar kind of thing. And yeah, those are not American, and so in a way that's also good to look out at problems that are happening outside of the United States. So it's not just a US problem. I mean, does that feel like it's useful?
I think so. I think as long as there's time for the viewers to actually have a in-depth discussion about what happened, what the issues were, and how the different characters may have felt, what they could have done differently, or whatever aspects of it that they want to discuss. But I think as long as there's that time to really reflect and to try to understand what the film is wanting to present, and being able to analyze that and look at it from different perspectives, would seems like to me that would be very valuable.
Yeah, no, I think it's healthy. I was asking Stan about that, and Stan said, kind of don't worry yourself about that. It's a big thing to be taking on, but my opinion is that we all should be taking it on, and in small bits, and having active reflections, as a group, and having opportunities to discuss. What do you think?
Well, I think absolutely. I was intrigued a little while, I don't know, about 5 or 6 years ago. I happened upon a book, and the interesting thing is that I just happened to see the book again recently. I probably wouldn't even be mentioning it to you today if I hadn't. And it's because it was up in my attic in a box of books. And I knew that I wasn't going to be able to keep all these books.
Hmm.
But what I did is I opened the top of each of the boxes, and I turned over the top books and took a picture to see what books were there, to just have a sense of maybe there's some message that each of
Uh,
these boxes wants to give me.
oh,
And
that's
because
nice.
I wasn't going to go all the way through them, and I wasn't going to really even ponder them, because I had already selected a lot more contemporary books. But anyway, the book is called Movie Yoga,
Oh,
and it's all about and you know what, I probably should go back and really, I don't even think I ever finished it, but I think it is about when you're watching a movie, noticing the emotional reactions that you have during
Mm,
that the
mm,
movie,
mm.
and yeah, so really keeping a high level of awareness, and then trying to understand, okay, well, where may this feeling be coming from? So I found that a really intriguing notion, because my sense is that for the most part, when people are watching movies, at least in my previous experience and with other people that I've been with, they just watch the movie, they experience it, and maybe even afterwards they don't even necessarily talk about it. So
Yeah.
this notion of being fully aware of not only what's going on the screen, but also how one is being impacted by it and the emotions, I felt was really a very powerful concept.
That's nice. I like that. I mean, I certainly have been changed through cinema, and in part because I feel I transport, I go someplace, and this is a big part of why I'm doing what I'm doing, because of my experience living in rural Oregon, where a lot of people did not get out of their birthplace, same state, same, they went out of the county, but they didn't go out and objectively look back at themselves and reflect on, I mean, and great, we can't fault people for that, because oftentimes it's an economic thing, or it's a health thing, but to not even have the desire. And I think that is what educators, what helpers, what artists do, is plant that, help cultivate that desire to, and fearlessness to engage with that which is not only foreign or different from ourselves, but possibly not even thought of. So that it allows us to develop the courage to engage independently. I think that's what art does.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And I think
Yeah.
it's super valuable. And especially, I mean, I just really love the notion of the self-awareness aspect of it, because I mean, it could be really helpful in terms of knowing oneself as you see how one responds to these situations that we may never get into, right? I mean, I'm no, yeah, there are situations that we don't have to get into. If we can experience them on film and learn from them through the film, then maybe we don't have to go through some of the things that we might otherwise go through that
Yeah.
might feel like a more negative experience.
Yeah. 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 In fact, the cognitive scientist I interviewed looks at pathology, memory as pathology. And I offered or asked him about, what about good memories? Um, and what about childhood memories that are really vivid and they're incredible experiences and blow our minds, right? For the first time you see Cinema Paradiso, for instance, or Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Um, it's so big and brilliant, and it sucks you in, and you imagine swimming in a chocolate river. Something like that makes such a big memory that it can potentially direct your life. So there's something called a directive memory, and you can have a directive memory, and it could offer a kid exit to, okay, sure, they want to be a filmmaker or be in film, something like that, but what about to go visit the country where it's filmed, or to learn the language that they're hearing for the first time, something different. And
Uh-oh, you froze
uh-oh,
up.
we're freezing.
Is
That's
that
true.
me
There
or
we are.
you?
I think that might be a little bit
Hello,
me.
you froze up.
Oh, there we go. It's six
Hmm.
o'clock. It's also it's a busy time for
Katie, you froze.
oh air
There you are.
traffic. There we are. There we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 6 o'clock. Probably the busiest time for air traffic, right? For
Right. Yeah, I think definitely when I saw Black Orpheus, it made me want to go to Brazil.
yeah. I just saw that recently, actually.
Oh,
Beautiful.
really?
I just love the accessibility of that. You know that it was organized in a place and organized with actors and local people uh, in something that you know, a sea of revelers, right? I,
Yeah, oh, yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm so interested to know how he did it, how he did it.
Yeah. In 1957 or something.
Right, right, right,
Yeah.
right. And it just took over the Cannes Film Festival that year. Won a won a
and
big
you
award. It got the award. Yeah, that's cool.
and you saw it and enjoyed it. I saw it 20 years ago and enjoyed it. And in 40 years, other people will be watching it and enjoying it.
Yeah. See, now
It's
this is a
timeless.
film also that I would show. I would show classic films,
Yeah.
and we'd have to break it up in pieces. But yeah,
So
yeah,
tell me, I just want to, so you would, it would be something like a Zoom experience, and you give the intro to Screen 360, and then the film gets screened. Is there breakout groups afterwards, or how is the communication, or the exchange of ideas after the film done?
so initially it's like this. If I have a filmmaker with me on Friday, we'll have a filmmaker coming in from Berlin, and uh, so I present him, and the two of us then field questions. And so I would ask general questions first. We have some learning goals, like um, any words that sounded familiar. Did you capture a couple of foreign words that stood out for you? And or what did the scene look like? What stood out in the visual nature of the film, and then we leave it up after those few prompts. We leave it up to the discussion to develop, and um, the the audience to ask questions of the filmmaker, and it goes from there. Now, in the case that there's not a filmmaker, then that's when we would use breakout rooms. And if there were, uh, we were doing this for a language class, for instance, then we would have opportunities for the students to break up into groups and talk to each other for 5 minutes and then change and talk to each other for 5, 10 minutes each and change speaking partners.
Uh-huh.
So
Uh-huh.
that, so
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. So in terms of the value adds, you're getting people to see that you're doing curated uh, programming.
yeah.
That's one. Are you? I guess you're kind of coming up. I don't know if you're necessarily publishing it, but you're coming up with for lack of a better word, a curricula for each film that's a set of questions or
Yeah,
so.
yeah, yeah, and which is what a curator does, right? For films, you present it at a film festival, you know your film well, and you have your own questions, but you also want to prompt the audience to ask their questions. Yeah,
Right.
so
And
yeah,
then sometimes you're bringing the actual film people,
right.
and the person who directed the film, perhaps,
Mm-hmm.
if they're lucky to see that, that's great. And
Yeah,
then you're also creating a space for the conversation.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And then
And
2 weeks after, I send them what's called the recollector, and ask just two questions. What do you remember from the film? What's the scene that's most vivid in your memory? And have you talked about it before, or go out and tell somebody about this, recommend it to someone. So then we also develop more participants that way too, through the recommendation action. But
And
this,
so,
go
mhm.
ahead.
Oh, so when when it's fully going, a year or 2 years from now, and is it going to be 24 hours? There'll be some films available, and you'll have different facilitators through the clock, or will it be kind of like the 3 different times in the U.S. time zone, or what do you envision?
Yeah, I've been thinking about that a lot, of course. I mean, I thought of the synchronous, because the synchronous aspects and connecting viewers from other parts of the world, it's so powerful. And I'd like to keep it like that. But then I've also been asked for asynchronous opportunities. So we put films up and responses, we record the responses at the end of the conversation. And this is what I didn't tell you. At the end of the conversation, we've got 3 minutes, and then that's when they can present whatever they want to present for a recording. And that's when we would record, and we would put that response to a film on a playlist, and then someone who's watching the film asynchronously can look at the responses to that film and then add their response to it.
So when you say the 3 minutes,
Hmm.
so let's say it's 10 kids watching this film together from,
Right.
they're from different places, and you go through at the end, the 3 minutes is all 10 of them. In like they'll be all of their videos on the screen. They'll just take turns doing
Yeah, I mean
talking for
that's
15
that's
seconds.
30 minutes if there's 10 of them. You're right. I'm still thinking as about that part of the design as if they are classrooms, and they get together as a team and agree that this is our representative response to this film. And so it's probably not going to be going to be that. I have to adjust that feedback. But rather than documenting the entire Q&A, which would also be valuable, it's just a lot of weight and a lot of video to slog through. And so I wanted just to capture moments of a participant saying, this is what I really loved about this film. And so it would be,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, for any one participant, 3 minutes is probably way too much. But
Way
if
too
you
much
had
time, yeah.
but if you had 10 people and you asked them to go very quickly, you can say, what's the one thing that you want people to know about this film, or the one thing that touched you the most? Yeah, you could probably get it. Almost, in my mind, it's almost like you want to just give people each maybe 15 to 20 seconds, and
Yeah,
they know that that's what they have. And you don't have to do it, but here, you if you want to respond, you can do that. I think that's really a cool feature for people to be able to see how other people saw it as well, and what they thought was
yeah,
really interesting as well. Because every conversation is going to touch on different things. There'll probably be some comment for a given film. There'll be, maybe there's 50% of the things that come up in the conversation come up in some of the other conversations, but there's going to be 50% that are probably going to be very unique to that set of people as well. So I
yeah.
think that yeah, that part is definitely cool to be able to see that. So I think with respect to, say, systemic racism, and I mean, if you pick the right films that have some of these aspects in it, then this provides a vehicle for people to have conversations that they wouldn't have otherwise. And
Yeah.
the challenge is just um, how do you ensure that this is a safe space for
Mm,
people, because it's not always really comfortable having these conversations. However, when you're
right.
having them about a movie, I think it makes it a little safer. But it just, you always have the chance that people are going to be triggered by that type of conversation. That doesn't mean that it shouldn't happen, and just because someone gets triggered doesn't mean that it's necessarily a bad thing either.
Mm,
But
mm,
it's just something that I think if you do that, then you want to have a skilled facilitator um,
right.
available to really make sure that if things start going off the rail, that this is actually someone who's going to use that to create something positive out of it.
Sure, sure, sure. And it has to be the right person too. I mean, I'm not skilled in that work, and the filmmaker, though, would likely have gone down that path before if his skill, if his her film has triggered reactions like that before. Um, there's a German film that I'm showing actually Friday morning, and it's completely lovely and innocuous about German history. It doesn't point to German history, but just the fact that it's from Germany flips the switch in many people who have not thought about Germany beyond Hogan's Heroes, right? And so it's not going to be a conversation about high diving in Germany. It's going to be about Nazi Germany. And um, Andreas, I know him. He can handle those conversations. But I'm, you know, anything, not anything, but many films can be about something and then trigger a different conversation, I guess is what I'm saying. And um, I mean, I, I have produced 3 children's film festivals and worked at film festivals, and I know the necessary diplomatic skill needed. And if up against the wall, I suppose you work that out with the filmmaker, and then also take the question if it triggers somebody offline. I also worked for the Jewish Film Festival, and there were often contentious discussions that arose after films, and so yeah, I know the skilled facilitator, and I think it would behoove me to uh, gain more skills. That's for sure. Um, yeah, because it's not like I am. I'm looking for those kinds of conversations. I definitely am, and I want to create a space for where young people can really question. Um, and so I know that the 3 of us, Dee Dee would probably be public school teacher, public high school teacher. She would have some of those chops. That's
Oh,
for
for
sure.
sure, for sure. And also, it may not necessarily always be the film that triggers people, but it also could be people in conversation about how they feel about the film, and
Mm,
it could
mm,
be just as triggering or more triggering potentially.
mm, mm,
So, but I think if you have someone skilled in it, they can usually, you know, use this as a learning experience for people, and it may not actually happen very often. I can imagine that it probably would happen more in like you were saying, the Jewish adult film world that may be dealing with different aspects of their relationships with the Palestinians. That I could imagine that would be something that could get very contentious if you had both Israeli, Jewish American, and Palestinian and
mm.
Arab people on the call, or in the film festival. So,
Right, 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 right.
but I mean, I just think it's just something to note. Although, I mean, like I said, I think it makes sense to not avoid those issues if you have the films that can provide the space to have these discussions. I think it's worthwhile in my mind.
Yeah, good, good, good. Yeah, that's I was hoping so, and in presenting this specifically to the um, the Culture Fund at Andreessen Horowitz, which is. Have you ever looked at the Culture Fund?
Um,
Let me bring that up
let me see.
here.
I think I've heard of it, and you might even have mentioned to it, but I don't know that I've actually delved into it. I think I looked at it
Cultural,
when you told me about it. I don't
uh-huh.
remember it though.
Cultural
Exactly what
Leadership
the
Fund. Here we are. Let me see here. And I'll share with you. This is where I think Screen 360 TV would serve really well. And it's a new program. And it was one of the mentors from, here it is, one of the mentors from uh, recent Hacking for Recovery that I went through, Steve Blank and these guys. They said, Andreessen Horowitz is really trying to put their money where their mouths are, and it would be a smart place to seek funding because they are doing this cultural leadership work. Um, Specifically, though, for young African Americans in the technology industry. Um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, looking at this, I think Screen 360 TV would work well here. I think, though, it is specifically to advance African American founders. Um, I would have to look at that. I mean, one of my advisors, my childhood friend, did you know him, Daryl Walker?
Daryl Walker. Wait, yeah, that sounds really familiar. I think so. Wait,
His wife is Lisa. I think she's a judge.
Daryl came up in the Bay Area?
Yeah, yeah. He came up in San
Yeah.
Francisco and now he's living in Oakland, I think. And his brother Andrew is at SI.
Yeah, I know them. I think they're Kappas. I think they're the same fraternity
Yes,
that Stan and I are in, and
that's
Stan,
right.
they're contemporaries of both of us. Yeah.
Right, right. So Stan and Daryl and Andrew know each other, right? And they're Kappas, right? Right, right.
Yep, I know. Yep, I know both those guys. Yeah, I haven't seen them in years though. Yep.
Daryl's doing
So
well
now,
now.
what's the connection with Daryl? He's your advisor as well.
He's on my advisory board, yeah, and we went to grammar school together. Uh,
Nice. Okay.
yeah, at St. Agnes um, in the Haight Ashbury, which was we saw a diverse world, and that's how we grew up, and it was a kind of a peaceful, peaceful. I mean, it was the Haight Ashbury. Everything was peace and flowers, right? Sort of, but yeah. We want to, I guess, use that as a launching place for giving opportunities to young people who don't have access to cultural opportunities, right? And this is what we see is part of the problem in the United States right now, is that there is not a lot of opportunities to really exercise unless you happen to be in a city or in a place um, where there's diversity. And I'm here to tell you, I lived in a place where there was not. And I think that might be more, um, not more the norm, but we might see that more often than we would expect.
But yeah, if you live in the city, for sure, we don't have a good idea what it's like to live in a more rural place or more, yeah, like Idaho or I mean, I have no
Right,
idea.
right. I mean, it's the Northwest is kind of, scary like that. And yeah, Idaho, Oregon. Um, it's interesting that Portland, Oregon, has the recent reputation, and it's one of the whitest cities in the United States, actually.
Oh yeah, you mean with the what is it, 90 days of protests?
Yeah, yeah, or even 100 days of protests. Right,
Oh
right,
wow, yeah.
right. I mean, good ideas of how they want to be and how they want to change, and that's good. That is good.
So,
But
so if yeah, so what are you're looking for, like a two sentences or
yeah, two sentences that that yeah, that speak to Screen 360 TV's validity in today's world.
okay. Yeah, I mean I think I've voiced what, you know, obviously more than two sentences, and I can distill that down into two sentences that I think could be helpful. So I'll
That
go
would
ahead.
be cool. That would be cool. And I can give you this clip, turn it around real quickly if you wanted to grab it and choose whatever quotes that you just said,
Sure, sure, you can send it to me. I'm gonna, yeah, you can send it to me.
if that's helpful. Yeah,
It may be something that I look at, and or it may just flow. But if it's not hard, you can send it over, and that way I have it as a resource as I think about it. I might What I'll probably do is just write down something and then let it marinate for a little while, and I may go look into the clip for a couple of those comments if I'm not getting the wording that I want.
yeah, that's cool. I appreciate that. I really do. That's good. That's
So
good.
you're going to submit here tomorrow?
I'm going to, yeah, I'm sending it off to another local guy, an SI guy, that through Stand, guy named John Jacks, who is who had done some work with Horowitz and Dreesen Horowitz long ago, and he still has their email address, and so he's going to use that to send to the Cultural Leadership Fund.
Oh, okay. So you're gonna go through two different doorways.
I think so. I mean, through
Okay,
him,
good.
and then he's going to send, and then I will ask him also to send it to Ben Horowitz.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Nice.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, that stuff always helps. If you have a warm connection, then it definitely makes sense to use it.
yeah. That's what we're gonna do. That's what we're gonna do, and that's the stretch. And then he will see your face too,
Okay.
if that's okay with you. If that doesn't seem, I mean, and
Sure.
and I'm asking Stan to take a quote from him though too. Um, but yeah,
Sure. Yeah. You'll just use a clip from here? Yep.
um, not a video, probably just a quote and an
Okay.
image. Is your picture from LinkedIn?
Oh,
Is that
oh
okay?
yeah, from my LinkedIn. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Okay, perfect.
yeah, that's a cool shot. That's a cool shot. Okay.
All right.
Um, well,
I'm
as you
gonna
can hear by my voice, I didn't have a nap, and I'm a little fried, and I've got to cook dinner yet for the ladies. So
All right. Well, good reconnecting, and
yeah,
I have a much better understanding. And I can, yeah. I mean, it's great to bring people together around film, around good film, to
mm,
discuss what it's evoking in them, and helps them understand themselves and the world a little better.
that's all it is. And I'm not afraid to go out there against the big boys. There's a lot of competition right now, but none of them are doing what we're doing with the post film discussion and trying to actually have synchronous events.
Well, that's the most important point is the discussion afterwards. Otherwise, it's just you're just showing a film and people walk away
Right.
without learning from it most of the time. I mean, I really doubt that people when they go to the theaters, I don't think they're learning that much. First of all, the stuff that they're watching most time is crap, and then then even if it is a good film, I mean they don't really take the time to integrate it. So it may change them, but
Mm,
when it's non-intentional, it probably happens much less frequently and much less deeply than it could if it was intentional.
Yeah, yeah. That post-film discussion really cements the imagery and the memory of the film, and then you can, it comes up again 2 weeks later, then you have another conversation about it that extends the memory even further, and couldn't be a better learning experience, I think, for young people.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then, the thing is, when you have the discussion, it can actually even make a bad film good.
Why is it bad? It's great to discuss that. What
Yeah,
didn't work here? And I always ask the discernment question. What did you like? What did you not like? And why?
yeah,
Yeah. So important. So important to develop that and hone it and hone your tastes, really.
yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
awesome. I'll go ahead and write something up and get it over to you at least this evening or
oh,
at the
I
latest
appreciate
tomorrow.
that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Katie. It's good connecting, and thanks so much for connecting me with Mariana. I guess we're going to be doing it again, and in the
Without bombers, right.
yeah, hopefully without the bombers this time. And yeah,
So you presented, and or were you one of other presenters, many presenters? Was that how
there
it
were
was?
many presenters, but it happened a little bit to the previous presenter, but nothing written, and it hadn't happened written for me. Yeah, it was pretty wild, but yeah, I'm happy to be in contact with
Well,
her.
she's going to make sure that it's really good for you the next time then.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Wow, wow. Well, congrats on all your moving and getting rid of stuff, and good books talking to you too.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
thanks so much, and yeah, I'll let you know how things go with Mariana as well.
Yeah, I hope so. Good. Yeah, because LA, there's a whole nother world down there, and
Yep.
yeah, there's Silicon Beach is down there.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Is that
Yeah.
Venice?
No, it's just below Loyola Marymount. Is it? Well, maybe it is Venice. I'm not sure. Wherever Loyola Marymount College
Oh,
is.
yeah. I don't know exactly, but I know the words, the names. I've heard it.
Yeah, someplace I would love to live just because I could go into that water every day.
Oh, it's warm enough, right? Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. God, when there's a swell, it's perfect. Yeah. Anyway, another story. Thanks, David. Have a
All
great night.
right. Talk to
Bye
you.
bye.
Bye.